In 2005, WWE introduced the Money in the Bank contract, a brand new creative element used to help those on the cusp of taking that next step into the upper echelon of WWE superstars get a world championship match whenever and wherever. The only thing you needed was the presence of a referee, and early on, the concept was a hit. It was helping people ascend to new heights, giving stars an opportunity to be top guys and carry world championship gold. The past few years, however, WWE has strayed away from everything that made it a success, and it's been a complete mess. The execution and track record has been astronomically poor, and this is coming from someone who's a huge fan of the concept and honestly just wants to see it return to its old glory. Creative elements stop being special when you stop making them special, and the Money in the Bank contract holders have really felt like afterthoughts the past little bit. Not suggesting that everyone has, but we haven't seen the concept do what it's designed to do, and that's elevate. Most of this coming down to the core of most on-screen wrestling problems, and that's booking and of course the selection of the winners. Let's talk about last year's winner Austin Theory first. What happened with this cash-in was effectively WWE devaluing what should be a golden ticket to superstardom and the world championship, saying to their fans that we had no end goal in mind with this. He cashed in what should be a world title match on a mid-card championship in an open challenge no less. To repeat, Austin Theory chose to cash in his almost guaranteed world championship victory on a secondary title during an open challenge that no one answered after his opponent had been beaten into a pulp and he lost. There was no real justification as to why. We didn't have someone come out and even attempt to preserve the concept. The rules were just changed on the fly and another cash-in was wasted. In retrospect, the failed cash-in stings more now that we have the World Heavyweight Championship, but okay, I guess it does make some sense. There was virtually no way he was beating Roman. I'll give them this one. But let's keep going. The year previous was one of the very few bright spots in the contract's past 6 or 7 years, and that was Big E. Someone who was a logical winner, a guy who needed something to bring him to that top tier, and he ended up becoming WWE Champion. His subsequent reign was not handled well, and he was made to look like a weak WWE champion, oftentimes taking a backseat to whatever his challengers were doing. But what the contract did was give him that initial reign, put his name with elite companies so that they can build from there. With stronger booking, the right tweaks, a more serious approach, and of course health permitting, Big E can still be a big player for the WWE. By virtue of his win, it at least did something to say that this guy belongs here. There's been so many times where the following reign after the cash-in just isn't strong, but once you put them up in the conversation with former WWE champions, you gotta do things to sustain their credibility and justify the win. Before him, Otis won the Money in the Bank contract, and this was a disaster. WWE had no idea what to do with him. You could tell that they didn't have plans for him to win a world title or be a main guy, and through his reign as Mr. Money in the Bank, he was never a threat. Always goofy. The contract was a lunchbox at one point, and you knew this guy's in a tag team. There's no way he actually does it. What made matters worse was when he lost the contract, it was because of his tag partner Otis who turned on him. The turn was never explained, they didn't have a proper rivalry, and they ended up drafted to Raw and SmackDown with it never going anywhere. Otis went back to being a tag wrestler. If they planned for him to do something, why'd he just regress? That's the forward thinking that's been missing. It was thrown onto him for the sake of shock value. Eventually, The Miz won the contract from Otis, and he failed his cash-in, got it back via storyline shenanigans, cashed in, won the world title for a grand total of 8 days. And what did that 8 days really do for The Miz? Transitional champion, and WWE just wasted another go-around for the concept. The others in that match, AJ Styles, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, and Baron Corbin. Getting to Corbin, he failed his cash-in, and I feel like this is where the whole unraveling for Money in the Bank really started back in 2017. Corbin fell flat on his face, and personally, I'm not sure how I would have felt if he would have succeeded just 2 months after holding the Money in the Bank. Was it the right time for him? I don't know. After him, it was Braun Strowman who won, and this was actually logical in terms of the winner. A guy who had been around for 2 years, they let him develop, be part of big storylines, showcase him, and now he just needed something to take that next step. He cashed in ahead of time, got his match with Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell. That match ended in a no contest when Brock Lesnar showed up and tore the cell door off. Sticking with Lesnar, 2019's men's match saw him win, and I love Brock Lesnar as much as the next guy, but he didn't need it. At the time, there was probably a much easier and less convoluted way to get to Rollins and Lesnar at SummerSlam, while also giving the opportunity to maybe a McIntyre or a Balor. These are just a few examples of the mess that's been on the men's side, but the men's is nothing compared to the rushed out product we've been getting on the women's side. Of the 6 winners, 5 of them have held it for a day or less. Aside from the cash-ins, it's barely got a history behind it in terms of actual holders, in terms of actual sustained miss Money in the Bank runs. The women's match was introduced in 2017, and up until this point we've had one woman, that being Carmella, who's had a sustained run with the briefcase. And even the way in which they crowned the first Miss Money in the Bank was more convoluted than it needed to be, with them making amends on the very next SmackDown. Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Bayley all cashed in their contracts within hours of their win at that same event. Nikki ASH just 24 hours later, while Asuka was awarded the Raw Women's title again 24 hours after she won, though that's no fault of her own. Is it now, Mr. Rollins? I want to talk quickly about Nikki Cross's win. I said earlier how this can help someone stay at that top tier of superstars. Her title reign lasted 32 days. She didn't do anything inspiring during her time as Raw Women's Champion, and she hasn't even sniffed the top end of the women's division since. In the women's case, it really feels like they want that contract to be done with as soon as possible, and they opt for creating cash-ins the night of rather than playing the long game. This concept shouldn't be given a pass. It can be better, it should be better, but they're just going through the motions with it every single year. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, there's always next year. With the winners, you're not just devaluing the concept, you're losing development time. You're losing months of having someone assume that role, and what could have been an easy decision by just selecting someone who's hot instead turns into a muddled mess because of shock value and the selection they go with. You don't just create a new star because they win Money in the Bank. My examples are always Rollins and Edge, that when this concept is given care and time, can be a game changer and really help the trajectory of someone's career. Of the 28 cash-ins, men's and women's, only Austin Theory, Baron Corbin, and Damien Sandow have actually lost the match. Even though Cena failed his cash-in, he still won the match via DQ. Strowman's was a no contest, so the success rate is high. And that's not suggesting that every cash-in needs to be a successful one, or that every winner needs to tease cashing in multiple times before they do, but just keep them as a threat and use the time while they're holding it to your advantage. I read online that some people want to see the concept retired. I really disagree with that. I don't think you really can with how big Money in the Bank has gotten. Plus, what's the point of putting it away for a little bit and then making a big deal of it when it returns? I think the revival of it should come in the way that the holders are booked. A good cash-in creates drama, tension, suspense, and when done right, leaves you with a moment that a superstar's career was either catapulted or revived. Now let's talk about this year. Who should be Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank? I think it's LA Knight's time. He's got everything to be a classic Money in the Bank holder. He's going to be a guy who, if given the opportunity, will have the ideal run with it. He'll be funny, he'll cut great promos, he'll be sleazy, he'll be entertaining, and these are the times, the pinpoint moments where you can just see he needs the Money in the Bank. Let him continue to build for a few months and use that device to bridge him over into that next level. They should pull the trigger on him. So far, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match has no former world champions, and that's really cool. You have a big opportunity in front of you. On the women's side, Io Sky is a solid option, though I think what they're doing with Zoe Stark so early is pretty good. A Money in the Bank win could position her really well, especially since she's a heel. She'll have that exposure working with Trish, and down the line, if you want to do something where Trish ends up winning a women's title only for the student to cash in on the teacher, I think that would be a huge star-making cash-in. Of course, if she continues to work with Trish for a sustained period of time, that would also give her the right amount of screen time for audiences to get familiar with her, so it wouldn't feel as rushed either. At the end of the day, this concept has been so strangely booked, and I just want to see it return to its old glory. It's been such a mess the past few years, and it's by WWE's own fault. Elevation is key, and that's what this concept is at the core of things. Money in the Bank is a plot device and a way to get someone to that next level without having to do all the extra bits in the middle. At one time, this concept was so instrumental in bridging the gap between a mid-carder and a main event level player, or helping someone that's lost the limelight return to that glory. The amount of moments and legendary Money in the Bank runs we've had have been great, and it's so pivotal in kickstarting a big storyline or tying up one that's been going on for a while, and lately it hasn't been doing any of that. But what do you guys think? What needs to happen in order for Money in the Bank to gain some prestige again and not just be there? Like I said, pick strong winners, position them to look good while they hold it, keep them as a constant threat to the champion and not just some chump who has it as a prop. Hope you guys have been enjoying the uploads. I'll catch you guys in the next one.